Welcome back to another episode of the Boomtown podcast. I'm Cameron Walker, broker-owner of Cameron Walker Realty. With me, as always, is Megan Hines, our agent extraordinaire. And today we're going to talk about some of the big infrastructure projects and some of the ongoing housing developments that are either in process or upcoming in Huntsville that can have a massive impact on where you live and your lifestyle. So we're going to dive into some of those. We're going to maybe start downtown, talk about some of the huge projects there and how they're impacting everybody's lifestyle. Then we're going to move to some of the infrastructure projects that are making the difference out in the suburbs. So Megan, welcome aboard. Let's chat about it.
Yeah, and I think something to keep in mind is these are not infrastructure projects that have been brought into existence at the flip of a switch because we have people moving here. These have been in the works for a long time and have been planned, just like actually the people moving here have been planned. Huntsville and Madison as well have been aware of just how desirable the location has become, and they have been planning for growth. And what you see in these infrastructure projects is the fruition of that. The first one I want to talk about is this Skyway that's going to connect downtown with the Low Mill area. And that, I moved here over 10 years ago, and people were talking about it.
Yep.
And now it's about to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And that ties in a lot of places. So we'll put something up on the screen kind of showing you where that is.
Yeah,
not done
it's just too much to think about.
But a big part of that is it's going to impact people that already live in some of these areas. So Low Mills, great little area. It's been recently redeveloped. You're seeing a lot of movement there, either vacant lots being built upon, houses being torn down and built up, or houses that are being fully renovated. So you're seeing a lot of wealth pour into that area. Now, 3, 4, 5 years ago, you could get in there dirt cheap and do all this. Now it's becoming more and more expensive. And things like the Skybridge come as close to future-proofing a value and almost guaranteeing an increase in value. You can never guarantee one, but as close as you can, because of that's going to make going from Low Mill to downtown that easy, right?
Yeah.
You can just walk right in. And that's been a challenge for Huntsville is biking areas and walking areas, pedestrian friendly. It's been a real challenge. You've had to go around the world because there's so much waterways, there's so many highways, and this is going to really help alleviate some of those challenges.
Yeah, and they put these bikes, these rental bikes all over Huntsville a few years ago, but I don't think they're used that much because there's really no place to bike, but they've been adding more bike lanes recently. And this Skybridge is going to be bikeable and walkable. And when you drive to Low Mill from downtown, it seems like it would be farther than it is because you have to go kind of a roundy route to get there. But as the crow flies, it's not that far. It's definitely a walkable distance. And it's going to really change how coming and visiting Huntsville feels. It's going to feel a lot more like an event because you're going to be able to go to Huntsville's downtown, which has restaurants and Big Spring Park and all this. And then you're just going to be able to hop on this little walkway, rent a bike or walk, and you'll be able to see the city as you walk over it. And then you'll be at the Low Mill area, which there's already Gold Sprint Coffee over there. And there'll be more businesses once this gets developed because once you have this influx of people from downtown able to just get there easily, it's going to develop that area as well.
For sure. And for those people who don't know, if you haven't been watching our videos for a while, Low Mill also has a huge art facility with studio artists. There's 150 studios, over 200 artists there and residents, huge festivals throughout the year, big events. So phenomenal place. So now somebody that may be either living or visiting and staying downtown, that's walkable for them. So like when you think about other cities that you may visit that have larger tourist attractions, they're generally very walkable for people within that city, whether they live there or they're visiting. And Huntsville's finally going to have some of that.
Absolutely. So I've been taking my daughter to Chattanooga every year on her birthday since she was about 3 years old. And that's because Chattanooga is very walkable for children and there's all these activities. And Huntsville wasn't. And that's absolutely going to change. Like people are going to be bringing their families, staying downtown and being like, oh, I have a list of things that we're going to do. And it's all about being in Huntsville.
The Skybridge is already bookended by some existing infrastructure, some existing housing, some existing businesses, like Low Mill on one end, like downtown on the other, but there's even more coming in. So as you mentioned earlier, there's been this long-term plan. So you think about areas like Campus 805 and Stove House that have been redeveloped and are already cultural centers, already have businesses, already get a lot of visits. But on top of that, you're looking at some redevelopment. So we have the Front Row development campus coming in right across the street from the BBC and Rhythm on Monroe. And that's going to be a $325 million development with housing above, mixed use, either retail or office space down on the ground level. And then over on the other end, closer to Campus 805 and Low Mill, you have the Mill Creek redevelopment. So it's going to become even more, it's adding more value. And
Absolutely. And they're doing it in a smart way. The Mill Creek redevelopment is not just a plan where we put luxury houses in the middle of a neighborhood where no one can afford them and bring a bunch of other people. It is a development with housing for a variety of different income levels, surrounded by amenities to really bring a lot of different people into the mix.
absolutely, it's going to bring some park-like environment too. So actually reclaiming a little bit of green space too. So what it becomes more and more pedestrian friendly, more and more biker friendly, and just more and more resident friendly. It's easier to get to things and enjoy your time down there. And I think that's been a challenge for Huntsville, especially with attracting what I'm going to call a younger crowd.
Yeah.
I do get people every month that reach out to me and they're like, I'm in my early 20s, I'm single, what's the nightlife there? And I'm like, well, first off, I'm in my mid 40s, I'm in bed by 9. I can't tell you what happens after that. But in general, there's not a lot to point them towards. So this is going to give that density which is needed to have the bars that stay open late, the restaurants that stay open late, the more the walk in and grab a slice of pizza like we talked about in a previous episode. Yeah. But you need the density of population for those businesses to thrive.
Otherwise, it's just kind of like weird empty spaces that the city has built. And I think they're doing a really good job of that. Like I have not seen any of these developments turn into just strange empty spaces like you might see. I mean, the planning is amazing that they've managed to develop what they have and have it be everything they've developed in the last 5 years is popular and people are using it the way it's supposed to. And I think that's going to continue. I hope it does.
Yeah, and I think they've been very strategic about how they drive traffic to the areas and the order in which they invest. If you came to Huntsville, like you mentioned, 10 years ago, right? Some of these pockets were so far behind and underdeveloped or haven't been redeveloped. The businesses, the housing there was old. And if somebody told you step by step what the plan was there, it really didn't look like it made sense. But that's because there are people that have a little bit more forward knowledge and forethought about how to strategically invest in these areas. And it's cool because it's not just one thing investing. A lot of the projects we're talking about right now are actually private investment from private companies.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about the Skybridge, that's a large part from a federal grant, and the city's been very smart about it. Some of it's being used to mitigate any potential flood waters, to add green space, in addition to creating the bridge.
Yeah. It does seem like they're really working to make Huntsville one of the most, it is very livable, but all this stuff that they're building increases the livability.
Yeah.
And it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
When you have to entice people to come here. So I don't know if anybody's ever in my short form videos, you might see me out there arguing with the internet in the comments section, but frequently people say, well, who would want to move to Huntsville? Right.
Yeah.
And then there's 18 people a day want to move to Huntsville, I'll tell you that much. But there is a distinct difference between us and some other larger cities in that lifestyle and that livability. And when you have these major employers like Space Command coming here, when you have the FBI relocating so many employees or opening so many new positions, and of course, every time any of our contractors win a contract, we have this huge buoy effect of people that need to move here for specialized roles. It is hard to attract those people if you can't offer the lifestyle. Now, while the lifestyle is easy for me over in Madison, with a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house and a great school district, that's not what everybody needs or wants.
And people don't really want their children to all grow up and have to leave and never come back and have any fun.
Sure.
I mean, people want to build a generational life where they know their kids.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, people moving here, we're frequently compared to Birmingham, to Chattanooga, to Greenville, and all of those have what I would say is a larger, more vibrant downtown with more options for your interest in your lifestyle. And it's great to see Huntsville coming along and adding to what we already have, which is great. It's small. There's not enough of it. And so we're adding to that, and we're adding to it in a smart way where not only are we building the capacity for those businesses and the retail spaces, but also for the people to live there to support them.
Yeah. And when we talk about infrastructure, we kind of have to talk about roads too. And there's a lot of investment going into that. So we're not just going to build up this downtown and then you have to torture yourself to get there.
Absolutely. For sure, for sure. Like, so, I frequently talk about living on the outskirts of Madison. I'm actually over in the East Limestone area. It's only 25 minutes for me to get downtown. And we do come down frequently. You have so many wonderful things here. We have Big Spring Park. We have the Von Braun Center, where like my kids' dance recitals are. We come see comedians and music venues there. We come down and watch the Huntsville Havoc play. And then there's all these different festivals. Like Panoply is a huge favorite for my family because they always display the kids' artwork, and one of my kids always seems to make it in there. So, when we come down for these things, it has gotten a little harder and harder to get here as far as like there's a little bit more traffic each time we come or
Yeah.
over year.
There's more people
So
moving here for sure.
absolutely. So those big scale infrastructure projects are being designed to alleviate some of that.
Yeah, and they're pouring they're widening 72, and then we're not going to go through all the details of all of them, but they're putting a substantial amount of money into the roads around here and making it so that we don't have a Atlanta situation.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we're a little ways off from that for sure, thankfully. Having driven through Atlanta recently, I got a stark reminder.
Yeah.
But when we think about it, the bulk of the population in Huntsville that's not within the city limits does live either north or west of town. And so that's where we see a lot of these projects going in, particularly because you have the Arsenal and Research Park over on that side of town. You have people commuting in from Decatur, from Athens, from Madison on that side. And then the north side from like Harvest all the way over to Meridianville and even a little bit northeast with Newmarket. But the challenge is those people are getting funneled into not narrow roads, but they're seeing more narrows. More and more people move here and are moving to the suburbs and the exurbs. And so the big projects we see are meant to alleviate that. So you have the widening on 565. A lot of that's already taken place, and they're going to finalize that, taking out the County Line Road. Highway 72, which is another major thoroughfare, and probably the one that's suffering the most right now.
Yeah.
They're going to be widening that in sections going all the way from Providence down to County Line Road. And then the project, like the infrastructure project that I'm actually the most excited about is actually the Northern Bypass, because this is going to be brand new. It's going to alleviate traffic from those places, but it's also going to open up more areas for development. And so it's going to keep us from crowding too many other areas.
Yeah, it's true, Cameron. The more people that we can easily bring into downtown, the more vibrant downtown is going to become, and the more we can build our roads up so that it's easy and effective, the better this whole city is going to work.
Absolutely, because the city is dependent upon the surrounding areas, right? And the people that live there, and it's all one economy, no matter how we want to slice and dice this, right? So somebody living in my area that does come downtown and does eat here and does come out for dinner or what have you, because there's nice restaurants all over town, but the bulk of them are in downtown Huntsville, right, or in the surrounding areas. And so the easier it is for me to get in to do that, the more often I'm going to do that, and the better the economy is here.
Yeah. And so we are talking about doing multiple infrastructure projects in this area. And a big question that always comes up is, who's paying for all of this? Are taxes going to go up?
Yeah. No, they already have.
Yeah.
It's really cool in Huntsville because we are kind of a star of Alabama and really of the Southeast in general. There is a lot of federal direct investment. There's a lot of state investment, a lot of local government investment, and then a lot of private investment. It kind of depends on what project you're talking about as to where that investment comes from and if there's a mix, right? So when we talk about some of these programs, it may be a mix of private and public funds. It may be a grant from a program. And something I talk about a lot is some of the money that's spent in this area would be spent regardless whether it was in Huntsville or elsewhere. But these kind of programs, these infrastructure programs, are here because of the growth that we see in our area. So when the federal government wants to bring in, say, the rumor is they're going to spend about $500 million to bring in Space Command to build their facility, right? That comes along with all the people that move here for those jobs and supporting roles and the roads that need to get them there.
Yeah. And then we have the private sector that comes along and is like, hey, me too. I'm going to be, my company is going to be benefiting from this, and we will help invest in this project or that project. And the infrastructure building is one of the things that differentiates this area from the rest of Alabama. You do not see the crumbling infrastructure that you might see in rural areas, and that is sort of stereotypical. And people might think of that when you tell your friend, I'm moving to Alabama, people do not picture what is actually here, which is a vibrant city with new infrastructure that's being built on all the time, and that is coming alive and becoming more and more alive all the time.
Yeah. And I mean, we're talking over $100 million in investment over last year and just this year. So I know Madison spent $37 million to create the flyovers that go into town Madison, where, you have Toyota Field where the Trash Pandas play ball, but you have a ton of restaurants, hotels, apartments, and a really large new community of single family homes and townhomes, right? And so you see that and all these other widening projects, there is a lot of money coming in. And to your point about some areas of Alabama crumbling, several years ago, a gas tax increase was passed for the Rebuild Alabama. You see that everywhere. Every time you pass over a new road here, a new bridge, something's been repaved or widening, there's always a little sign there brought to you
Yeah.
by Rebuild Alabama. And I love seeing that because we do know the funds are being used where they're supposed to go. I had a family in town this week from Chicago, and all they did was complain about where their taxes go. I don't blame them, but they're not seeing the benefit of the taxes they pay, and they're quadruple what we pay here. And it's like, when you see Alabama really does have a good stewardship of their money, particularly here in the Huntsville area, we're getting a lot for what we pay for.
And I think that people get the wrong idea. They think that everybody, people want low taxes, and you do have them here. But being able to see where your money goes is incredibly important, and being able to see the value, because we do live in a community, and we value living in a community and having certain things that have to do with that. The other thing that they're building out here is the Singing River Trail,
Yeah.
and that's going to bring together basically like walkable bike paths throughout Madison County, and it's already started. You'll see that there are walkways along all the waterfronts around here. There's but they're going to connect all of these. So eventually, you're going to be able to basically bike your way anywhere in Madison County, from your house to somebody else's house, without going on a road, without ever. It's great for families.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of unsung and undersung developments coming along, particularly from these non-government agencies.
Yeah.
You think the North Alabama Land Preserve, they've got a huge welcome center they're about to build that's going to be over by Trailhead, and so many other little projects like that that just they're not national news, right?
Yeah.
They're more for us locals, and we try and highlight as many of them as we can, but they're going to have a huge impact on the quality of life here. We talk a lot about how much does it cost, how much do you make, all that, but it's really the quality of life that's important. And that seeing the local government and the local planners continue to improve upon that, it just makes it that much easier for the next family to move here.
Yeah, and having amazing public spaces allows you to maybe move here, and maybe you take a job that doesn't pay, maybe money's tight when you first get started, but you're still able to go to Big Spring Park. You're still able to walk across the big walkway and enjoy the views of the city. You're still able to enjoy all the parks and the green spaces. And so you don't have a diminished quality of life. Your quality of life might be better than it would be in a place where every activity that you do costs money.
Yeah. And it's cool to see the city adding green space rather than removing it, right? Some of these programs are bringing in more of that. Now, obviously, out in the suburbs, we're seeing more development rather than as much green space added, but that's getting spread out. So I mentioned earlier about the Northern Bypass, and what's really cool about that is being built in segments, but as it's being built, it's allowing for development in areas that didn't previously have it, which is helping with density in those areas and bring businesses in, and it's alleviating traffic flow from other areas. So it's really cool to kind of see that because there's this big swath. If you look at it from the satellite view of undeveloped area, and it's going to allow that area to be developed and save some others.
Absolutely. What's your favorite of the infrastructure projects?
Well, I'm personally most impacted by the 565 and the 72 because they're going to where I live. But if I was looking at it, say from like a real estate broker perspective, from a professional, really that Northern Bypass is really the one I'm most excited about because I really do think it's going into an underserved area where people that currently live there have difficulty getting around, getting into the city, getting to different amenities, and it's going to open it up for them as well as open it up for development for new people to live in those areas.
Yeah. I think the two focuses that we see from the urban plannings is making Huntsville more fun.
Yeah.
And then making it more functional. It's basically it's fun and function, and with the roads, with that side we're seeing the function, and then with all these other projects we're seeing the fun
For sure.
Yeah.
And it's changing the streetscape of town too.
Yeah.
So now I don't want to act like it's all sunshine and roses. So I'll give you a little example of something I ran into last week. So I have a client moving here from Colorado Springs. He's with Space Command. He's looking at homes from afar and he found this gem. It was just underpriced, gorgeous home, renovated, beautiful lot. And as I get to looking at it on the map and I zoom in, I realize his next door neighbor's house has been demolished, or the next door neighbor's house, for the bypass to go through. So undisclosed, nothing online about it, and you would have this highway like basically just within feet of your house. And I mean, when I say feet, I mean 20 or less. And so there is some downsides to all this, coming in.
Yeah, there's always winners and losers when it comes to change. And the fact that we don't really have disclosures here means that if you're not paying close attention, if you're not working with somebody who looks at the details, that could happen to you. That would be terrible.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I mean, the people that live there currently, they didn't have a choice in the matter either, right?
Yeah.
So you do have to be really cognizant of what is on those planning documents for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road. And Huntsville puts that out there. Like, we have the big plan. It's updated every 5 years. These things are not, to your point earlier, you heard about them 10 years ago. They haven't changed. It's just the funding finally got there.
And it is like they have like a mastermind in there, like to have this all timed at the same time that Space Command is coming. And, like they really timed it well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a little bit of it's build it and they will come, right? If you don't have enough infrastructure, they can't come here. So I know out where I live, or County Line Road, it had nothing on either side of this 4-lane highway for years, but they knew it was coming. They built in advance, and now you see new business after new business opening there. I mean, it seems like every 200 yards, there's a new sign about something else new coming out there. But, they knew it would one day, and so they prepped in advance of it.
And building the infrastructure brings the businesses, it brings the restaurants, it brings the entertainment, it brings all these things, and they just build around it. Once you've made someplace livable, people start to live.
For sure. And you look at, say, like the Mazda Toyota plant, right? So that was built, but then there's many suppliers that had to come to the area. All these people employ people. All these people need housing. All these people need to go out and eat. They need to buy their kids clothes. They need to go to school. And so it becomes this virtuous cycle of the economy gets better, the housing gets better, the lifestyle and quality of life get better as well.
Yep. I have to hand it to city planners. I said this before, but it just seems like so many moving parts. I'm glad that's not my job. It's really hard.
I agree 100%. And getting the financing together for it, right? Deciding who pays for what and how you acquire that is just really staggering. And on top of all of that, and this is where I'm probably most proud of our local leadership, is we have like AAA rating for our credit for all of our local municipalities. So we're not going into like blistering debt, and we're not facing bankruptcy as a city to get all these things done.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, really.
Yeah,
it's pretty impressive.
These people know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think we really covered hit the high notes.
We hit the high notes. And if there's anything that you have questions about, that you've heard about, we would love to discuss that with you as well.
Cool. All right. Thanks for watching.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching or listening. You can always catch us on audio on wherever you get your podcast, be Spotify, Apple, or you can watch our video on YouTube. We really appreciate you guys being here. Ask that you subscribe so we can keep you informed of everything going on here in Huntsville.